Hey there. So you're sitting there thinking, should I sell my truck while your bank account slowly dies every month? And you're like, yeah, we've all been there. Trust me. Let me tell you about Sarah and Mike. No, not their real names, but their story might as well be yours. This couple, early 30s, making what seems like decent money, fell into one of the oldest financial traps in the book. They walked into a dealership, saw that shiny new Chevy Silverado Chell Boss sitting there like it was calling their name, and boom, $17,000 down the drain. Just like that. I mean, I get it. That thing looks amazing, it smells like new car, and hey, it's got all those fancy features. But here's the kicker. They've already dumped $28,000 into this thing. They still owe $33,000. And get this, Mike's old car is basically held together by duct tape and prayers at 160,000 miles. Meanwhile, they're trying to figure out how they're going to afford having kids, build an emergency fund, and not live paycheck to paycheck. Sound familiar? Because this is exactly what happens when we let our hearts override our brains. And honestly, it's a story I see way too often. The real question isn't whether they should have bought it. That ship has sailed, unfortunately. The real question is, what do they do now before they're completely underwater? So let's dive into this financial mess and figure out how to turn this truck-sized disaster into a learning experience that actually helps you avoid the same fate. Now, let's talk numbers, because honey, the numbers don't lie. And right now, they're telling a pretty brutal story. Sarah and Mike are bringing in $80,000 combined annually, which sounds pretty solid until you start breaking down where every single dollar is going. First up, that mortgage, $1,500 per month, which is actually pretty reasonable if they bought wisely. Then there's that truck payment, $630 every single month for something that's going to be lucky to last 2 more years. That's like throwing $7,500 out the window annually for a vehicle that's depreciating faster than your motivation to cook dinner after a long day. Their old Kia paid off, thank goodness, but it's basically a rolling lottery ticket at this point. You never know when it's going to leave you stranded somewhere important. Here's where it gets really scary. When you do the math, their housing costs alone are eating up nearly half their monthly income, and that truck payment is another chunk that's just gone. They've got maybe $10,000 in emergency savings, which sounds good until you realize that one major car repair could wipe that out completely. They want to start trying for kids within a year, which means baby expenses, potential loss of income, medical bills, the whole 9 yards. When your monthly expenses are already maxing out your comfortable living space, adding a baby to the equation isn't just stressful, it's potentially catastrophic. The income seems decent, but when you're already stretched thin, that $80,000 feels a lot more like $40,000 after all the must-pay bills are taken care of. They're essentially living the classic American dream deferred, making enough to feel like they should be comfortable, but spending so much on depreciating assets that they can't actually build any real wealth or security. Here's where it really hits you in the gut. This situation feels completely impossible because it actually is impossible to keep going like this. They're trapped in what financial experts call the asset poverty trap. They own things that look valuable but are actually bleeding them dry every single month. That truck? It's not an asset, it's a liability with fancy chrome. Every month they make that $630 payment, they're not building equity. They're just paying for the privilege of watching their money disappear. Think about this. In 2 years, they'll have paid over $15,000 more on a truck that would be worth maybe $15,000 if they're lucky. That's like paying double for a car that's already 3 years old. But here's the real kicker. Their reliable transportation is actually their old Kia, which could die tomorrow and leave them with 0 cars and 0 savings because all their money is tied up in this shiny new, depreciating nightmare. They can't afford a second car payment, which means they're one Kia breakdown away from being completely stranded. The psychological weight of this is crushing. Every time that Kia makes a weird noise, it's not just, oh no, what's wrong with the car? It's, oh no, how are we going to afford this and keep the truck. It's the financial equivalent of being stuck in quicksand where every attempt to get out just pulls you deeper in. They want to start a family, which means stability, but they've created the exact opposite of stability. They're essentially borrowing from their future selves to maintain their present image. And that's a loan that compounds with interest in the form of stress, sleepless nights, and dreams put on hold. Okay, so what do we actually do about this beautiful disaster? Immediate actions first, and this is going to sting, but it's necessary. Sell that truck today. Don't wait for it to depreciate further or for your Kia to die dramatically on the side of the highway. Get on CarMax, AutoNation, wherever you can get a quick sale and turn that $33,000 nightmare into actual cash. Probably around $25,000 to $28,000 if you're lucky. Yes, you'll take a hit, but continuing to throw money at it is like trying to put out a grease fire with more grease. Take that money and redirect it smartly. $10,000 to $15,000 toward a reliable used SUV, something from 2018 to 2020 with reasonable mileage, certified pre-owned if possible. This isn't about getting the coolest car, it's about getting the most reliable transportation for the least amount of money. Medium-term strategies involve completely restructuring your mindset around car payments. That $630 monthly freedom is life-changing. That's an extra $7,500 per year that can go toward your emergency fund, baby expenses, or honestly, just breathing easier. Build that emergency fund to $15,000 minimum. Yes, I said more than your current $10,000 because kids are expensive surprises wrapped in adorable packages. Start researching family planning costs, pediatrician visits, and all those things that make having children both wonderful and wallet-crushing. Long-term planning means never, and I mean never, financing a vehicle again unless it's absolutely necessary and you can pay it off in 24 months or less. This experience should be your financial wake-up call. The moment you realize that depreciation is the silent killer of wealth building and that reliable, paid-off transportation is worth its weight in gold. Here's the beautiful part about this whole situation. Yes, you made a mistake, but it's not the end of your story, it's the beginning of your smarter financial chapter. Once you sell that truck and get yourself into a reliable used SUV that you actually own free and clear, you're going to feel a freedom that no amount of horsepower can provide. That $630 monthly payment freedom alone is going to transform your financial landscape. You'll have an extra $7,500 per year to build your family, your savings, and your actual future. Start looking at that reliable used SUV market. There are amazing vehicles out there from 2018 to 2020 with low miles that are just coming off lease, meaning they've been well maintained and still have plenty of life left. These aren't the cars that make you feel cool. They're the cars that make you feel secure. And honestly, when you're planning for children, security trumps coolness every single time. Your emergency fund is going to grow faster now. Your stress levels are going to drop significantly. And you're going to sleep better knowing that one car dying doesn't mean complete financial catastrophe. The money you save from not making that truck payment can go toward actual wealth-building activities, investing, home improvements, baby funds, date nights where you don't stress about the car payment. This isn't about deprivation. It's about making intentional choices that support your actual goals instead of your temporary emotions. You're going to look back on this decision as the moment everything changed, when you stopped trying to keep up with appearances and started building the life you actually want. Your future kids are going to benefit from the financial stability you create now, and that's worth a whole lot more than any truck payment ever could be. Please let us know if you agree or disagree with our recommendations in the comments section. For more authentic anonymous stories like this, please like, subscribe, and share our videos if you found this story educational.